Today, Fortune magazine is out with its annual list of the top 500 businesses in America. In its 60th edition, the Fortune 500 has come to be a standard measure of corporate success.
The top 5 on the list remain unchanged from last year, with Walmart holding down the #1 spot. Oil and gas company ExxonMobil comes in at #2, energy company Chevron at #3, Warren Buffett's firm Berkshire Hathaway holds court at #4, and tech giant Apple takes home 5th place.
Joining us now is Alan Murray, the editor of Fortune magazine. Thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here.
So who didn't make the top 5? Who are you looking at that is just maybe on the bubble there?
Oh, well, you see, of course, Apple did make the top 5. You see, a lot of the top 10 are companies that have been around for a long time. So we look at people who are moving fast. Facebook, for instance, moved 100 places on the list, went from 341 to 242. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved another 100 places next year. If you look at market value, Facebook would be #10. So that's an example of a rapidly moving company.
Who are the newcomers to the list, to the Fortune 500? I mean, I'm looking here. There's a couple of companies that have lost a lot of money. I'm just wondering who made it to the list this year.
Netflix
jumped
I saw
on
that.
the list. That jumped out at me right away.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them keep moving. That's a really interesting company. Salesforce jumped onto the list for the first time. Coach.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So selling that many handbags.
Yeah. So we're seeing some movement. There were about 26 companies fell off, and 26 new ones came on.
Anyone that was surprising that fell off that was on the list last year?
Well, part of what happened last year were these tax inversions where companies moved their headquarters offshore, which by definition gets them off the list. So you have a Medtronic that's gone, Mylan gone, because they're no longer U.S. companies.
It's interesting, too, Alan, we were talking earlier before we started doing this on air that there are a lot of companies that have dropped off the list in the last 20 years or so. I mean, I was telling you how I started back on the street way back in 1990, and you said, what was that percentage number of companies?
57% of the companies on this list weren't there 20 years
That's
ago.
incredible.
So 57% turnover. Now, frankly, there's always been a fair amount of turnover. If you go back to the very beginning, 1955, the first list, to 1975, you had about a 45% rate of turnover. But 57 is the biggest it's ever been.
So is technology one of the biggest trends that you're watching in the fast-paced?
No question. What we did this year for the first time was we surveyed the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies, and we asked them, what's your biggest challenge? #1 on the list, rapid pace of technological change. They all think the world is going to change more in the next 5 years than it has in the last 5 years. You have this whole set of technologies, the cloud, mobile computing, big data, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, sensors on everything, that is fundamentally changing the way companies operate. It's kind of like a new industrial revolution, and they're all grappling with what that means for them.
How does it rank? How do the companies rank in terms of industry? In other words, back then, 20 years ago, I remember pharmaceuticals being a big part of the list. How do they rank vis-a-vis technology, consumer?
Well, you're seeing healthcare move up in part because of the aging of the population. In fact, a newcomer to the top 10 this year was CVS Health. It was #10. On the list. And then you're seeing some of the biotechnology companies like Gilead and Biogen making strong movement and earning strong profits. So I would say health is a big trend.
How about GM? They had some problems, but #6 on the list.
Yeah, they hang in there. And look, GM is one of now 24 companies in the 500 that has a female CEO, Mary Barra. And by most accounts, she's done a good job sort of righting the ship, dealing with the product recalls and trying to get the company back on track. But I'll tell you, I mean, you talk about technology. GM is a great example.
Really?
Because it's no longer competing just against Ford and Toyota. You've got Google talking autonomous cars.
Right.
You've got Tesla out there. You've got Apple saying, the guy from Apple at a conference last week said, hey, the car is the ultimate mobile device, suggesting maybe they'll get in that race, too. So it's a really interesting time for transportation. Uber as well, right? Are people going to buy cars, or are they going to share cars, or are they going to take Uber? So all of that is, and you see that in a lot of industries, that the silos are breaking down. You talked about who's top in industry, but people are competing across industries much more than they ever have before because of technology.
All right. Fortune magazine, Alan Murray, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here.
The new issue of Fortune magazine hits stands Monday, and we will have much more news in 90 seconds. This is CBSN.